No. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You got it.
And back on again. Out, 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 out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
It's the fall kickoff sale at Lithia Ford of Boise. We're going all the way so you can score more for your trade-in and trade up to a new Ford truck or SUV today. Visit Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
It's time for the Postgame show from Bronco Nation News. We're breaking down the game with highlights, interviews, analysis, and most importantly, you. Give your thoughts on the game in the YouTube chat or Facebook comments, and we'll include the best ones on the show. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Western Collective Studios. Head down to Western Collective's locations in Garden City or downtown Boise to try some of their delicious beers, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the first beer to support an NIL collective. Now let's head out and join BJ Rains for the Postgame show from Bronco Nation News.
Well, how we doing, Bronco Nation? Wow, 17-13. Boise State hangs on, comes back, I guess, in fact, to take down Wyoming, improved to 10-1 on the season, and we have so much to talk about with you guys. I am here at the Marriott Grand Cayman Island Resort in a conference room, and here to talk to you guys about Boise State's win. This was only the fifth game in my 12 years covering the team that I did not attend in person. So I was just like all of you, or most of you, I assume, watching this game on TV for the first time in a while. And was certainly an interesting feeling. Was with some of the staff members, some fans that were down here, had a group of people, about 15, 20 people, found a local establishment here in the Cayman Islands that was showing the game. And again, only the fifth time in 12 years I've done that where I've watched a Boise State game on TV. So very odd feeling not being at the game, very kind of helpless feeling, but did the best I could to try to follow the stats and take some notes. And I got my notepad over here and all kinds of stuff to get to. And so kind of covered the game from afar and was watching on pins and needles, I guess, like all of you, to see what would have happened there at the end of the game. And Boise State 17-13, that huge drive to come back after the Wyoming field goal to take the lead. So we are going to be just letting you know, we want to take some more of your voicemails. We already have some in the system, but if you do have a voicemail, if you have a thought, an audio thought on this game, go ahead and get those in now. We would love to have those. We will take your voicemails, the Signature Roofing voicemail inbox. It's just speakpipe.com/BNN, speakpipe.com/BNN. And we will give away a $100 gift card to the Blue and Orange store. We'll raffle that off to somebody who leaves a voicemail. We're going to kind of do those a little bit later and have them all at the same time. But if you want to win a $100 gift card to the Blue and Orange store and you have some stuff you want to get off your chest about this game, just keep it PG if you can, maybe PG-13. Jaden is going to screen those. So if you're just going to come in, do nothing but cuss, don't even bother. We're not going to play it. But if you'd like to give some thoughts in the chat, we'll get to those. But if you want to leave an audio voicemail with your thoughts, well, we can play those as well. Again, speakpipe.com/BNN. We've already got some in the system, as I said, but I know A lot of folks are disappointed. A lot of folks are frustrated. A lot of folks are not happy. But again, Boise State won the game and improved to 10-1. I don't see how Boise State will drop to 14-16. There's multiple teams ahead of them that lost. Ole Miss will drop below Boise State. Indiana could possibly drop below Boise State. I haven't seen the Alabama score, but they're going to drop below Boise State. So SMU could maybe jump them, but I don't see Boise State losing 3 or 4 spots. I think that's I don't maybe unless I'm missing something. I don't know how there's any way that could happen. So I think Boise State moves up a couple spots. The committee does look for style points as Alexandra says here, but again. Stop doing PR work and do your job. I haven't even had a chance to get my thoughts on the game. They played awful. That's 3 games in a row they've not looked good, AP. I mean, give me more than 3 minutes of opening the show to get my thoughts on the game. All I'm saying is it's not going to hurt them. It wasn't the pretty win that a lot of people wanted, but all these other teams lost today. You just had to survive and advance, which they did. Would you rather be sitting here talking about a pretty 50-49 loss or an ugly 17-13 win? Like in the end, Boise State won the game. A lot of other teams today didn't, and so Boise State's still in a great position. All their goals are ahead of them. We had BYU lose today. You had Colorado lose today. So was today a great game for Boise State? No, not at all. And we're certainly going to get into some of the issues, more special teams issues, more pass defense issues, the same issues that have been cropped up again, and that is 3 games in a row that have not looked good. I don't think anybody's denying that. I'm not coming in here to say Boise State played a great game and all is well. Not at all. I'm just saying, hey, as bad as it was, you still won the game. A lot of other teams didn't, and I think you should feel pretty good about that. Like, take a deep breath, have another horseshoe golden ale from Western Collective, and take a deep breath and say Boise State won. Like, I'm not sugarcoating the game itself. Boise State did not play great. As I said, a lot of issues they still have to clean up. And Nathan Carroll, our new part-time reporter from Bronco Nation News, is actually going to jump on the post-game show here in a couple of minutes and break down what he saw from a numbers perspective in this game. No, it was not good. And I don't think anybody is saying it was good. But when you look at all the other teams that lost today, from a big picture standpoint, it was a great day for Boise State. It really was. So, we're going to get into the issues, and there were a lot of them. But again, Boise State goes on the road, finds a way to win the game. Guess what? BYU went on the road, couldn't win today. Colorado went on the road, couldn't win today. And guess what that means? Boise State, all they have to do is win out. And I think they could have 2 more ugly games like this, but I believe if they win out, they're going to get that bye. I do not see a Big 12 team passing Boise State at this point. I also think, guys, Boise State's a better team than this, and I also think that against Oregon State, they're going to show it, and then I think in a Mountain West Championship game, they could show it too. So I do think that there's some serious issues that have to get corrected and fixed on this for this team, but I also think that you know what? You've had 3 subpar games, and you've found a way to win them, and at some point, now you have 2 home games. That's certainly something to be happy and excited about. I mean, this has been a rough stretch. They just had back-to-back road games. They've had, multiple road games in recent weeks. I mean, this has not been an easy stretch. And you see what Ashton Jeanty's dealing with. By the way, we'll get to it, but we get the Breezy Bundle on Tuesday, the $2 hot dog and soda from Jackson's, thanks to Breezy Dubar getting in the end zone. The comments are coming in fast and furious. I'm going to try to get to as many of them as I can. As I said, we have some voicemails we're going to play as well. It's the easiest way to make sure you get your get in there is in the voicemail. Alexander says, ugliest win I've ever seen. I mean, it was pretty ugly, no doubt about it. I mean, you look at some of the stats, and we can put them on the screen here and talk about them in a minute. It was not pretty. I mean, Boise State starts out with more special teams issues. Jonah Dalmas missing another field goal, and then Wyoming misses the field goal, and then Jeanty has the 61-yard touchdown run, and you're thinking, okay, everything's great, but it just never really materialized. And I thought Boise State had a big 4th down stop there, but then they had to punt, I think, on 3 straight possessions. The Dalmas field goal right before half did get you to 10-10, which is 2 games in a row. You go into the locker room tied at halftime after a subpar first half. But Boise State on 3rd down tonight was not great. We'll get to the final numbers. They were 0 for 5 in the first half. But that second half, it was just a lot of punts and a lot of low-scoring games or low-scoring, second half, and then Wyoming hits that 35-yarder. It was set up by a 61-yard pass. Again, we'll get to the pass defense. It was not good tonight. Wyoming, one of the worst passing defensive teams in the country, or passing offensive teams in the country, and they had a lot of success passing the football, but a 61-yard play set up that 35-yarder. Wyoming takes the lead with about 9 minutes to go in the game, and you're like, uh-oh, this is in some serious jeopardy. But Boise State comes back, couple big runs from Jeanty. Breezy Dubar throws it in the end zone there, or runs it in, but I mean, gets the ball into the end zone. 2-yard run for him. Boise State goes ahead, and then Wyoming on fourth down gets sacked by Boise State, and everything's looking great. But Boise State goes for it on fourth down, kind of an interesting play call there. And then Wyoming has a Hail Mary attempt, and it doesn't work. I was just thankful Boise State didn't try the Kenny Dillingham, Arizona State way of ending the game by stopping the clock there, or by trying to run the clock out. Again, was not pretty at all. I know folks are going to be saying it's time for King Malachi. Don't go there, folks. I mean, I'm not trying to whatever, but I mean, it was not a great game for Maddox Madsen. He goes 14 of 26, 168 yards. If you think Malachi Nelson could do just as good as him, I'm not going to argue you. He very well may, but I'm just telling you, they are not changing quarterbacks when they're on a 9-game winning streak. So could Malachi Nelson do as good as Maddox Madsen is right now? We don't know. We haven't seen him. I have no idea. And it was not a great game by Maddox Madsen, but he had a great game last week. And when he has a subpar game, he usually bounces back. No touchdowns, no interceptions, missed a couple wide open throws. It was not Maddox Madsen's best game of the season, not by any means. He did not play well. Let's make that clear. Maddox Madsen did not play well. I'm saying he did not play well. Maddox Madsen did not play well. But with that said, they're not going to make a change. They're not going to make a change at quarterback. The folks are crazy that are asking for that. You're not going to see Malachi Nelson come in. You can say it all you want, and it's your opinion. That's fine. If you think Malachi Nelson's the better option, that's perfectly fine for you to think. I'm just telling you, they're not changing quarterbacks right now, so I don't think that's worth a lot of time on something like that. James says, I just don't understand this team so lackluster for so much of the game. And that's, multiple games in a row where they really have had, games where they just didn't look great. And certainly the Nevada game at home wasn't great, but they ended up getting the win. It is what it is. 3 games that have not been super, super impressive, but they, as I said, got the win, and that's the most important part. This team won't win a playoff game, but a win is a win, I guess. Could this team win a playoff game? I certainly think they could, because a couple of things come into play here. You saw what Ashton Jeanty did tonight. Like, Ashton Jeanty finally, a couple of times, got the stiff arm with the left hand in there. Ashton Jeanty, we haven't seen him stiff arm with that injured left hand in multiple weeks. I don't know if that means he's getting healthier or what, but I thought that late drive in the fourth quarter, super encouraging that we saw multiple stiff arms from Ashton Jeanty with his left hand. So I think that is certainly something that is encouraging moving forward. But if you get a month off, or essentially 4 weeks, whatever it would be, if you play in December 6th in the Mountain West Championship game and you get a bye in the first round and don't play till New Year's Eve, 4 weeks for this team to get healthy and for Ashton Jeanty to get healthy, like with the way they played tonight, no, I don't think they can't probably beat a lot of teams that are in this field. But this team certainly, I think, is capable if they can get guys healthy and get it, the mojo turned on again to make a run. Now, which is why you don't want to have to play at Ohio State or at Oregon or at Penn State. Like, getting that bye is a big deal to give you a neutral field, a neutral fan base, and 2 extra weeks of rest, I think, is the most important thing. And that it took a nice step towards that today. Boise State's not dropping in the polls. We'll have to wait and see what the final, numbers are, but I don't see how they don't drop in the polls. Multiple teams ahead of them lost. I think they move up at least one spot, probably a couple, and that really doesn't matter, to be honest, because it really is irrelevant if they move up or not at this point. I don't think a Big 12 team can catch them, so I think Boise State wins out, and no matter how it looks like, if they're 12-1 and Mountain West champions, Boise State is going to get that bye. I don't see Arizona State passing them. I just don't see a Big 12 team at this point passing Boise State. So maybe I'm wrong, and it could happen. Maybe you guys have a scenario out there where it is, but I think Colorado and BYU both losing today puts the path pretty much right there for Boise State. BSU sucks so bad. Get them out of the playoffs. Sorry, Trevor. Don't think that's going to happen, at least right now. Ugly, outplayed all game. I can't really argue with that. It was not pretty, certainly. Need better DBs and better DB coaches. I mean, the pass defense, again, was not good tonight, and we'll put some of the stats up here shortly, but Wyoming passes for, it says 203 yards. Felt like a lot longer than that, but they had a lot of big passes that they were able to complete. They did get some guys back like Roger Carrion tonight, but as Todd said, he was a mess. Maddox was off. McCoy was trash. Carrion did have, I think, 3 penalties, at least three penalties tonight for Roger Carrion. So, I mean, his first game back was working in there. Nice to have him back, but he certainly did have a couple key penalties that hurt Boise State in this game. So, going to lose a game if you don't figure those two out. I can't disagree. Special teams, again, a missed field goal. The opening kickoff of the second half, fumbling that. You're lucky you got that back. Special teams was a negative for another game. So special teams continues to be a problem and has to improve. And it's the big passing plays too. Like I said, overall it was 203 yards, but there were just some big passing plays that they were able to continue. And I thought when Anderson went down at halftime, that was a huge factor in this game. He was 9 for 14, 116 yards and a touchdown. And then they had to make the switch due to the injury, and the backup came in, was only 6 of 13 for 87 yards. And the backup has been the starter for a good chunk of the season. But that's why part of the reason they were 2-8 coming into the game. So a lot of things changed, but I thought one of the big things that won Boise State this game was the quarterback injury at halftime, which it sounds like was a concussion. Grand Tetons would almost rather play a 6-6 USC or Washington team and save the embarrassment, to be honest. Okay, if you'd rather not make the playoff and go play one of them, fine. But I don't think this Boise State team would get embarrassed by anybody. I think when they're playing well, they can hang with anybody. I really do think that. The comments continue to roll in. We're going to get to our man Nathan Carroll here in just a second. DBs need humbled. This felt like more of a loss than a win, but I will take it. Again, it kind of does. I get it. But look at all the other teams that lost today. There were a lot of teams that lost today. And there's a lot of people on the BYU and the Colorado post-game shows and message boards, and Alabama message boards here and post-game shows, and Ole Miss and all the other teams that lost today, like probably feeling a lot worse than you guys. You won the game. So there's a lot to clean up. If you don't fix it, are you going to lose a game here near at some point? Yes. But you won the game. You're moving up in the playoff rankings. There's a lot of things to be excited about here moving forward for Boise State. All right, want to thank a couple sponsors real quick. Western Collective, our studio sponsor, the Horseshoe Golden Ale. Check them out, the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the Orange Chaos Seltzer. They had a watch party tonight out at the brewery in Garden City. Hope a lot of you folks made it out there. The official studio sponsor here at Bronco Nation News, and you can help put money back in the student athletes at Boise State via the Horseshoe Collective, Horseshoe Golden Ale, Orange Chaos Seltzer. You buy one of them, and part of the proceeds goes back to the Horseshoe Collective. Pick them up today, Albertson Stadium. Where else can you get them? Albertson Stadium, the basketball arena, Extra Mile Arena. Been a long day. And also the most major retailers in Idaho. Rowpaint.com as well. ROEpaint.com. Check them out. Rowpaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics, our title sponsor here at Bronco Nation News. Check them out. Rowpaint.com. And again, the concrete coatings, the interior, exterior painting, best in the business. Check them out. Rowpaint.com. ICCU, Idaho Central Credit Union. There's a branch pretty much on every corner, but the easiest is that mobile eBranch online banking right there in your smartphone. Check them out. Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. Matt Bauscher and Bauscher Real Estate. Number one ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley is Matt Bauscher and Bauscher Real Estate. Rain's family bought and sold our home using Matt. Tremendous service. Couldn't be happier, and glad we did. So next time you're looking to buy or sell your home, do it with Matt Bauscher and Bauscher Real Estate. All right, we're back here on the Blue and Orange Store post-game show. I know Travis Hawks got to go to the game. Super jealous of that. But Blue and Orange Store, all that Ashton Jeanty gear, will be telling you more about it, but they're the sponsor of the post-game show. So head on out to the Blue and Orange Store right there in the Boise Town Square Mall, or the second floor next to Pro Image. All right, our man Nathan Carroll is joining us now, and he's been doing a great job tracking some of the numbers and things. Look like you're in a cave or something there, Nathan. But yeah. I know your family's asleep. Probably you're trying to be quiet. The lights are off. I get it. We appreciate you jumping on at the last minute here. But you had some good insight on Twitter, and I'm looking forward to your post-game recap, which will be up at BroncoNationNews.com Monday morning. But just some of your general takeaways from this one, man. I know you love to dive into the numbers and stuff, and a lot to look at, a lot to not like. But in the end, Boise State finds a way to get the win here, and on a day where there's a lot of chaos in college football, that ends up being the most important thing.
Yeah, thanks, BJ. Thanks for having me on. We're visiting family right now for Thanksgiving, so luckily don't have to worry about being quiet, but do have to be locked away a little bit and try to find the best lighting I can in a 100-year-old house. So, at the end of the day, a win's a win. And compared to, like you said, you mentioned Alabama, you mentioned BYU, you mentioned Colorado. those teams had a lot worse days today than Boise State did, because ultimately Boise State was able to come out with a win. Where I want to go, one of the data points that reached out to me a little bit from this game is what's called net success rate. So essentially, for you guys listening, success rate is just how often are you putting together a good play. Generally speaking, on a first down, that would be like a 5-yard gain. On a third down or a fourth down, you need to be getting a first down to have a successful play. Success rate is one of those things that's pretty sticky, pretty predictable, right? So if you have a higher success rate week after week after week, that tends to be things that good teams do. Boise State had a net success rate of 10% in this game, which means that Boise State had a 45% success rate. Wyoming had a 35% success rate. With that kind of number, we would generally expect a big win. We would expect a multiple touchdown type performance. And this game wasn't that, because at the end of the day, I think Wyoming did a really good job. And we do have to give credit to Wyoming. Did a really good job controlling tempo, right? I think they ended up finishing with about 36 minutes of time of possession. I don't have it here on my stat sheet in front of me.
34 to 26.
34 to 26. So they were able to control possession, slow the game down. Boise State's offense only ran 56 plays tonight. That's a really slow tempo game. And when you're trying to generate an upset, that's what you want to do. So I think Wyoming did a good job in that sense of, by limiting possessions, keeping control of the ball, they're able to limit the total number of plays being run. But on a play-to-play basis, this win might be a little bit better for Boise State fans than it initially seems.
Yeah, and that's good to hear. But certainly a couple of the areas that we've talked about that have been problems kind of, remain problems. Special teams again tonight, and then also the pass defense on some big passing plays too. What would you make of either of those issues tonight?
Yeah, special teams, I will say we got to give a lot of credit to James Ferguson Reynolds. I tweeted it out. He was our MVP tonight. 0 bad punts, consistently was flipping field position. And what he does, coming from that Aussie football background, being able to move and give the coverage team time before kicking it, I think was big in limiting returns. Wyoming has a really dangerous return man. So that was obviously going to be a point of emphasis, making sure that he wasn't able to get loose, but obviously had the poor return on the drop. I think it was Dylan Riley who dropped the ball in the end zone, came out, started the ball at the 10-yard line coming out of half. So specials teams, some things to work on there, certainly. The flip side of that too is we did get a nice return to open the game from Dylan Riley. I think started that opening possession at the 35 or 40-yard line. But then you miss a field goal, hurts as well. So some issues there. The pass defense was interesting. Wyoming, you talked about already how they lost Caden Anderson and Evan Svoboda comes in. Evan Svoboda is not a great passer. If anyone from the Svoboda family is watching, he's a great runner. He does a great job in that sense, but he's not one of the better passers of the Mountain West. And there was a point in this game where Maddox Madsen looked like the third best quarterback because Evan Svoboda was throwing the ball really well. I don't know what the answer there is. At this point, this late into the season, it just seems like we are who we are. We've got a group of corners that don't really seem to know how to play the football. We give up a lot of one-on-one opportunities because of how often we're blitzing, and it came out to bite us bite Boise State in the butt again tonight, obviously, with that last field goal being set up on that 55-yard pass from Evan Svoboda. So it's an issue point, it's a trigger point, but I think at the end of the day, the bigger issue today might have been the offense. When you're a top 10 caliber offense like Boise State has been, when you're putting up performances where you're scoring 17 on a pretty leaky Wyoming defense, one that was missing 3 of their best defensive linemen coming into today, I think that's where the issues lie. And you dive into some of the numbers on where were the issues, right? So I mentioned success rate was 45%. That's in the 70th percentile. So that was a good performance there. Yards per play, Boise State finished with 6.3 yards per play, right? That's a pretty good number. Where Boise State really struggled, the EPA per rush was fantastic, 85th percentile. The EPA per drop back was negative 0.25, which essentially means that every 12 times we dropped back to throw, or Boise State dropped back to throw, they were giving up a field goal worth of points. And that really just comes down to Maddox Madsen did not have his best game tonight. BJ, I know you and I have been defenders of Madsen all year. Some Boise State fans have been after him. I think he's been a good quarterback for Boise State, but tonight was not his best night. And I think that's probably the biggest thing going forwards is for Oregon State, for the Mountain West Championship, can Maddox Madsen get back to playing at a high level?
And I think you said tweet or something where, like, as of right now, you might be the second team All Mountain West quarterback, right?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the quarterbacks who'd be in contention. It's Haj Malik Williams, who doesn't have a full season under his belt. You would be looking at kid down at New Mexico, whose name is escaping me, Devin Dampier, he's got 12 touchdowns and 12 interceptions, but he's an electric runner. So I was putting together a little bit of a preparatory All Mountain West list, and I had Maddox Madsen in there as the second team guy. Right, the numbers speak for themselves, and the numbers are really good. But tonight was not a great night for Madsen.
My internet froze for a minute there in the middle when you were talking, so I don't know if you touched on this, and I apologize if you were. But a lot of criticism of Dirk Cutter out there on social media tonight. John saying here in the chat, the offense is so predictable. What was any take on the play calling tonight for Boise State?
Yeah, I'll preface this with saying Dirk Cutter's got a lot more football experience than I do, right? So obviously want to give credit to where credit is due, but Boise State fans for months at this point have been calling for Dirk Cutter to try to get Ashton Jeanty on the edge. It seems like play after play, it's halfback dive, inside zone. And when after some extended absence there, Ashton Jeanty comes back into the game, they go to the outside twice, and he hits 2 explosive plays in the running game. I think the play calling left some to be desired in the run game. I think there was a lack of creativity early, which I just think it makes it hard on Ashton Jeanty. Look, he's incredible. He's the best player in college football, all of those things, but we can still do, or I guess Dirk Cutter and the team could be doing their part to make his job as easy as possible. But at the end of the day, I think in the pass game, there were open receivers tonight. And at some point, Maddox Madsen does have to hit those guys. I think a lot of times the coordinators get blamed first. It's just the nature of fandom for whatever reason. We've been seeing it all year with Eric Shenander, right? Whenever a DB gives up another contested catch, people want to have the Shenander conversation. And, I continue to go to back for Shenander and just say, at some point, a DB's got to make a play on the ball. I thought in the pass game, there were open guys. I would have liked to have seen some more vertical shots. That was something that I tweeted out is when you're not pushing defenses back, right? When you're not testing safeties and testing them over the top, you allow teams to play 8 in the box and keep their cornerbacks and safeties up near the line of scrimmage so that they're able to jump on some of those 10-yard crossing routes or some of those out routes. So that's one area where I would like to see some difference. And it panned out. Boise State finished with 0 explosive passes tonight, right? Like that's something that if you're going to be a top 10 offense against a pretty bad defense like Wyoming, you can't come out of the game with 0 explosive passes plays. So I thought that there was certainly some left to be desired from the play calling. I don't think it was necessarily a disaster, but certainly some concerning trends that we've seen for a few weeks now continued tonight and almost snake bit Boise.
We should give some credit where it's due to Ashton Jeanty, though. Another huge game for him. He rushes just 19 yards tonight, only needed 19 carries to get his 169 yards and his touchdown. That 61-yard touchdown there early in the game was a vintage Ashton Jeanty run there. He finishes 8.9 yards per carry. Again, not only 19 rushes for 169 yards tonight for Ashton Jeanty. He does get over the 2,000-yard mark. He's the first FBS running back since 2019. So in first running back in 5 years to rush for 2,000 yards. He has 11 straight 100-yard games, and I believe one of the stats said he's the only running back since 1996 to rush for at least 125 yards in each of his first 11 games of the season. Ashton Jeanty, I was before you got on too, I was mentioning a couple of the left-handed stiff arms I thought was a good sign. We haven't seen much of that lately. On a couple of those runs there in the fourth quarter during that big touchdown drive, he put a couple stiff arms out there with the left arm, which he really hasn't done. So maybe that's a sign he's feeling better. I don't know. He is certainly a guy that if Boise State were to get a bye, could a lot of these guys could benefit from 4 weeks of rest. But certainly he's a guy you're looking at that could come out and have 35 carries against Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl or something. But just your take on another big game from Jeanty, and they needed it tonight. And then with that said, Breezy Dubar scores the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, Ashton was phenomenal. Again, I mean, he's the best Boise State player I've ever seen. You know, we can talk about the greatest conversation because Kellen is Kellen, but you know, he's the most talented player I've ever seen. He's the best player I've ever seen. He's probably going to break Barry Sanders' record, assuming he plays at least 3 more games, which is obviously a record that in my lifetime hadn't been touched and really hadn't been tested. He's a special player. I thought him getting a little bit of blow tonight and Dubar coming in, and I thought Breezy ran pretty well. Obviously, he's not Ashton Jeanty, and when you see Ashton Jeanty 30 carries a game, you know, only having a Breezy Dubar, who is, I think, a really good running back, can be a little bit disappointing. But I thought Breezy played well and gave Ashton some extra energy. And when he came back in the fourth, he looked like he had a little bit more rest. He looked like he had that little bit more juice, right? Breaking some tackles and getting to the edge that we hadn't quite seen always over the past couple of games. Some of that probably helped, but getting the blow, I think, was big.
I mean, they gave him a whole series off, and that went over into the in between the third and fourth quarters. I mean, he had come out of the medical tent. There was some, you know, they said, oh, he's running on the sidelines, he's good to go. And then he took that next series, and it was a decent lengthy drive, and he just didn't play. And you're wondering, okay, well, is he healthy? Is he good? But then he came in with that probably 20-25 minute break under his belt and looked, again, a couple of really nice runs there on that game-winning drive.
Yeah, I think on that game-winning drive, finished with 4 carries for, I believe it was 56 yards on that one drive alone. I mean, you know, for some receivers, that's a good day receiving, and he's doing that on the ground. When Jeanty's healthy, he transforms this offense, because one of the hardest things to do in football is get explosives in the running game. Right. It's if you've got a good O-line, you can get 5 or 6 yard chunks at a time. If you've got a good quarterback and good receivers, you can hit explosives. You can hit explosives if you have a good coordinator. It's really hard to hit explosive run plays. And Ashton Jeanty is, a little stick of dynamite waiting to happen, just explosive. So seeing him be able to get some rest and look a little bit more like himself, I think was a big boost for Boise State. And, you know, obviously, like you said, if Boise State can get the bye, that's going to be massive for what he can do in terms of recovery and getting back to 100%. And along those lines, I thought the defense missed Andrew Simpson and Alexander Tubner tonight. Both those guys are leaders in the middle of the defense. And those are 2 guys that we don't know when Tubner will come back. Obviously, his injury looked pretty serious. Andrew Simpson's been an undisclosed injury situation, which typically means it might be a little bit more week to week. But those are 2 guys as well that the defense looks a lot better when they're out there, and you hope that they can get back sooner than later. But obviously, if Boise State were to get a bye come the playoff, they would benefit from it massively. But got to get there first. Can't have 2 more games like this and expect to get a playoff bid. That's for sure.
His name is Nathan Carroll. He's a part-time writer now for BNN. We brought him on board last week. He's doing a tremendous job with some of the numbers and things. You can read his recap story at BroncoNationNews.com on Monday, looking at some of the key takeaways, numbers from this game. This is your first post-game show. Do you want to hear a voicemail or two, or what do you think here?
Yeah, I've got time. You know, the wife's handling bedtime for the kids. So
okay, well then you can blame me then. Haven't met your wife yet, but you can blame me if you'd like for keeping you a little bit longer. But let's play a couple voicemails here. This first one's from Chris, and again, if you have a voicemail, speakpipe.com/BNN. By the way, give me a thumbs up. Sometimes the guests can hear these, sometimes they can't, Nathan. So give me a thumbs up or thumbs down if you can't hear it, and if not, then we'll adjust on the fly. But this is Chris. First up is Chris on the Signature Roofing voicemail inbox after Boise State's 17-13 win over Wyoming.
All right. That was the most garbage, infuriating game I've seen in years. And I'm a Detroit Lions fan. I've seen a lot of garbage, infuriating games. There's something about that field. I don't get it, and I hope we never go back. And my God, Madsen was lost all night. Defensive backs, poor discipline. I mean, just bad eyes all night, looking in the backfield when they're one-on-one. Getting beat is ridiculous. Ashton Jeanty is king. Took over on that last drive. Just said, we're not losing, and I will make sure of it. Took an inside run, bounced outside right away, and got 30 yards. Weird how it works when you get your best player in space. Good things happen. Just insane. Insane to think about. Jeanty for Heisman. Go Broncos. We probably dropped behind SMU after tonight, but still going up with some bad losses in front of us. But good Lord, they need to get this corrected. These slow starts have are just abysmal. Go Broncos. Thanks to your Jayhawks too there, BJ. Rock chalk, I guess. All right. That was the most garbage.
All right, I started to replay it there. Garbage was the word there from Chris. Some people looked like we were agreeing with him in the chat here. By the way, yes, my Jayhawks did have a nice win to help out today, which is part of the reason this game doesn't really. It shouldn't be felt like as bad as it maybe is. I mean, you won the game and you got some help, and it's all good. But a lot of points there, a lot of things, and that need to get cleaned up. And then he kind of summed it up nicely there with a lot of different points that we've been talking about for the last 38 minutes.
Yeah, it's hard to say any win is garbage, especially in Laramie. Weird things happen there. He said it was the most garbage game he'd seen. Can I bring you back to 2022 when we went to Laramie?
That was a 20-17 win that almost didn't happen. Yes.
Yeah, that was a fumble in the red zone that then Taylon Green makes a game-saving tackle, that then J.L. Skinner makes a game-saving interception. This was pretty tame compared to that performance. But yeah, I think some of the criticisms are fair. Madsen struggled tonight. Madsen wasn't good enough to win, and luckily Ashton Jeanty and Breezy Dubar came through. The DBs had a rough night at times, but I think there's at this point we know what you're getting with that defensive back group, and we talked about the play calling. So it's never too garbage when you get a win, but
no. Randy wanted to chime in about those DBs being bad. Here's Randy next up on the Signature Roofing voicemail inbox.
Hey, BJ, that wasn't a pretty win, but we still got the win, so that's all that matters here in November. Once again, Ashton Jeanty proved the reason why he's the most important part of our offense. Congratulations to him for getting over 2,000 yards rushing so far this season. It's a great achievement for him. One thing we definitely need to work on and clean up before the championship game is our defensive backs. They're getting beat time and time again on the long ball. What are your thoughts on that? And do you think we have a chance of still getting the bye?
All right, Randy, thanks for the call. By the way, I don't have a score in front of me. Maybe somebody else does. Maybe you do, Nathan, on the Fresno Colorado State game. But who do you think it would be better for Boise State to play in the championship?
Today definitely changes things there. There's essentially two schools of thought. One, Boise State fans should want UNLV because that's another chance at a top 25 win that can boost their resume.
7-7, by the way.
Yeah, 7-7. Looks like just finished up the first quarter. The other school of thought is, just take the easier opponent, right? Just doing some math with the spreads. Boise State was a 14.5-point favorite at San Jose. UNLV was a 7.5-point favorite last night. So we'd expect Boise State to be probably about a 9.5 to 10-point favorite at home, right? Because you get that extra 2.5 for being at home. Meanwhile, doing some of the same math with Colorado State, you'd expect Boise to probably be like a 17 to 20-point favorite. If Boise State plays like they did tonight against UNLV, they're not going to win. Boise State plays like they did tonight against Colorado State, you probably have a chance. So as the fan in me would say, let's just take Colorado State, take the win, get to 12-1 and get to the playoff. Especially with everyone else losing, I don't think Boise State needs to worry about resume building at point. But
as weird as it is, if UNLV stays if they don't play UNLV and they win out, then they'd be ranked, and you'd have another quote unquote ranked win, I guess, right, over UNLV. Weird how all that happens. Here's Jesse wants to talk about the Heisman, I believe, but also is not a big fan of DeMario Warren. Jesse, what do you got here on the Signature Roofing voicemail inbox?
Well, BJ, it's me again, Jesse. I'm gonna have to say that there's two things in it. Well, actually, three things. I'm kind of happy that Travis Hunter's Colorado team lost. It'll give a little bit more for Jeanty, I think, hopefully, in the Heisman voters' eyes. I hope so. I hope they watch that last series of Jeanty stepping up and leading his team to victory. That's where Heismans are won, trying to win the game. But I think the second thing I'm got to say is DeMario Warren, he's got to go. It's getting ridiculous. I just think that Warren has been a thorn in this team, and he's holding this defense back. And I think his techniques, whatever he's teaching these guys, is awful. These announcers on TV are just talking about him and making it sound like our defensive corners aren't good. But McCoy's and them should not be getting beat on routes, in my opinion. I think Warren is the problem, and he's just got to go, BJ. And the third thing I'm going to have to say is I'm finally going to jump off Maddox Madsen. He's just – it's either really, really great games he has or really, really bad games. He doesn't have the in-between. I think you let Malachi Nelson play a couple snaps, at least against Oregon State, and see what he can do, because we need a quarterback to step up when Jeanty gets stuck. Well, BJ –
All right, he had another one.
BJ, to finish up what I was saying, I think Malachi Nelson needs to be able to get a couple snaps against Oregon State. I think he should get a couple drives at least. I think we can't depend on Maddox Madsen anymore. It's just getting, I can't put my trust in his arm. I don't think he's going to win us games like everybody thinks. I know he's a good game manager and everything like that, but it's just we don't need a game manager. If Jeanty's hurt, we do not want to get blown out in these college football games. So we got to see what Malachi can do. I would let him have a couple snaps in the series against Oregon State. What are your thoughts on that, BJ?
I respect the opinion, Jesse. It's just not happening. It's just not happening at this point. I'm a little surprised, I guess, that I thought there'd be a lot of angst in certain areas. I didn't know Madsen would be the one tonight, I guess, taking a lot of the shrapnel. I know he didn't play great, Nathan, but I mean, there's other problems on this team, and I think Madsen over the course of the season has played better than a lot of people give him credit for. And he just has his detractors that when he makes one bet, I mean, he missed, I think Latrell Capel was wide open. We saw him slam his helmet down at one point on the sidelines. Like that was a big one. But he is who he is. And I don't think until when you're 10-1, you're not like seeing what Malachi Nelson has in the Oregon State game, maybe play him in the Mountain West Championship or the college football playoff. Like it's just not happening. So people that are seriously calling for Malachi Nelson, I hate to say it, but you're just wasting your time.
Yeah, it's not going to happen, and Boise State fans shouldn't want it to happen, right? Part of the benefit of Madsen getting a full season of work is that he has these games like this and can bounce back from them and can go through ebbs and flows. We've seen him have bad moments in games and then play well through it. At this point, if you're throwing Malachi Nelson into the fire, his first career start would be in the season finale and then in the Mountain West Championship game. It just doesn't make sense, especially because of the unknowns. It's not like it's somebody who, it's not Arch Manning back there, right? It's not somebody who you've seen in spring camp dominate, you've seen in garbage time come in and dominate. It just doesn't make sense. He had a bad game. I think I had 5 off-target throws for him, and normally he's a fairly accurate guy. You'll see 1 to 2 per game, but that doesn't detract.
Wait. You had 5 inaccurate throws?
I had 5.
To JD here, he says, must not watch the same game. Didn't throw a good pass tonight.
he had some bad ones, but at the end of the day, he's had a good season, and I will go and I'll argue with you on Twitter about this, right? The numbers are there. The numbers are pretty clear. He's had a good season. You can say it's because of Jeanty. You can say it's because of the receivers. But if that's all that Boise State needs to get to 11-1 is a quarterback who can get the ball to Jeanty and get it to the receivers, he's done that in almost every game this season. Really, the only games that you could look at and say Madsen wasn't good enough to get us a win and it was someone else who helped him out would probably be this game, and you can maybe make a case for the Nevada game. But that's about it.
This one from Eddie. I'm told it's a good one for you. There's a numbers question here about Madsen and sacks. Here is Eddie with a question about Madsen.
Hey, BJ, Nathan. Just want to know what your guys' thoughts on the sacks we had. I don't know how many we ended up with. I wasn't sure if it was wide receivers that were not getting separation, if it was a route issue, if it's a athletic issue, or if you felt like the O-line really was not clicking together after getting one of our O-linemen back. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
That is, by the way,
hey, BJ.
Sorry to cut it off there. That is like back-to-back weeks now with multiple sacks. I think we had 2 last week too, right? And then that's 2 tonight too. So if I'm correct, that's multiple. And 2 sacks, I mean, most teams would take 2 sacks all day. 2 sacks is not Boise State got sacked 2 times for 18 yards, I guess it was. But they just have been so low that that number is, when you get sacked at all, it's like, oh my gosh. But 2 is
Mhm.
really not that bad overall. But what's your take on the sacks?
Yeah, so we got Maddox Madsen got sacked, I think, 4 times through the first 8 games of the season, 7 or 8 games of the season. And a lot of it was Maddox Madsen. PFF has a number called their pressure to sack ratio. And it's essentially when a quarterback gets pressured, how often are they getting sacked? Right. And you think back to last year, Caleb Williams was the lowest in college football. He was getting sacked on like 28% of pressures because he was trying to do too much. Bo Nix was number 1, or it was Bo Nix or Michael Penix was number 1 at like 3%. Maddox Madsen coming into tonight was at 11%. One of Maddox Madsen's strengths is he does a really good job of not taking sacks, knows when to tuck and run, knows when to throw away, knows when to find the check down. The 2 sacks tonight, PFF just put out their initial data for this game. So they credited with 2 sacks on 4 pressures. So that's obviously well below that 11% number. I would need to see the all 22 to specifically give blame to receivers or quarterbacks or the O-line. If you ask an O-line coach, they'll say all sacks are on the O-line. If you ask a QB coach, they'll say that all sacks are on the QB. If you ask a wide receiver coach, they'll say it's on the wide receivers for not getting open quick enough. So reality is probably a little bit of everyone's to blame with those sacks. But at the end of the day, it's 2 sacks, right? Like you said, BJ, that's a great performance that I think most teams would take. But by and large, throughout the season, Maddox has been really good at avoiding sacks. So that's not a point that I'm going to be particularly worried about for Boise State going forward.
All right, one more voicemail here. Let's go to Parker about Ashton Jeanty getting tired here. Here's Parker.
All right, it's November. It's in Wyoming. I get it. It's a hard place to play. However, that felt like the most C- effort I have ever seen. And I had a feeling that this Jeanty injury-ish, slowing him down a little bit would happen. 30 carries a game the past 5 games has just wore him down. And I feel like since the UNLV game, he hasn't been 100% himself since then. And he just needed a little bit of time. We needed him, but I feel like we have grinded him down. And I hope Oregon State next week that we don't have to rely on him as much.
I actually thought he looked better tonight. I mean, he only had 19 carries. I thought I mentioned the stiff arm with the left hand. Ideally you would love to get him some rest down the stretch here for the championship game and for the playoff. But I thought today he looked better than maybe he had in the last couple of games.
Yeah, I think it's especially in the second half. That first half I thought was pretty similar to what he has been. Obviously, he had the big touchdown run, but then second half. Got to get a little bit of rest and came out and looked fresher than he has. So, I agree that getting him less reps is going to be good going forward. We can't rely on him to do 35 carries a game. No running back can do that, but I thought he looked good tonight with some additional rest.
Hey, Ridley's Family Markets. Check them out. ShopRidleys.com. All your needs when you head to a grocery store, they can fulfill them there for you at Ridley's Family Markets. It's a hometown grocer, and you just have that friendly feel when you walk in. They have locations all across the state of Idaho, all across the Northwest. So check them out online. You get savings up to 40% off if you download that Skip app at ShopRidleys.com. Hey, Snake River Pool and Spa, if you're looking for a spa for the back patio, if you're looking for maybe a pool table for the game room, a sauna, they got it all for you. Snake River Pool and Spa, patio and game. Been around since 1978. They're part of the Boise State home team. Got locations in Twin Falls, Boise, Meridian, Nampa. Check them out online. Again, the spa team. Jim Sturk was texting with him a little bit during the game. He was nervous tonight, but Boise State pulls it out. I know the weather is getting rough now in Idaho. Winter is coming. Make sure you have your all-wheel drive vehicle, and you can get it at Lithia Ford of Boise, whether it's the F-150, all the different options they have. The Raines family is loving our F-150. It is time to head into Lithia Ford Boise or LithiaFordBoise.com. View that full inventory before you head in. And again, they have 6 NIL deals with student athletes. They've got coaches they're taking care of, administrators. Like, they're backing it up, folks. So there really is one spot. If you want to support the sponsors, support the folks that provide a lot of money and a lot of things to Boise State, you're not going to find many bigger than Jim Sturk and Lithia Ford. So next time you're looking for that car or truck, make sure you purchase it at Lithia Ford of Boise. And Taco Bell, TacoBellWorks.com, the SON Management Group, the Nicolason family. We appreciate them. They are hiring. So again, if you're looking for a job, highly recommend Taco Bell. Free food while you work, half your wages the next day after your shift. Great promotional opportunities. TacoBellWorks.com. Check them out, TacoBellWorks.com. And the food's pretty good as well. My family loves heading into Taco Bell. So next time you're looking for a quick meal, a delicious meal, a cheap meal, make sure you head on in to our friends at Taco Bell. All right, Nathan, final thing for you. And again, we're going to get your reaction piece up on Monday morning. Looking forward to that. But just actually, by the way, somebody asked what happens if there's a tie. This is not the last question, but tiebreaker between Colorado State and UNLV. I know you wrote about that in your story for today or yesterday, I guess it was. But what happens? Can you explain if there's a tiebreaker with Colorado State and UNLV, 7-1 or 6-1?
Yeah, so Colorado State and UNLV haven't played, so there's no head-to-head tiebreaker. In which case, in the Mountain West system, they don't go to any of the record versus common opponents or record versus who did the most backflips, all of those strange things that some of these other conferences do. It's as simple as who's the highest in the college football playoff, which obviously at this point, if UNLV wins out and Colorado State goes 1-1, UNLV is going to win that tiebreaker. If for some reason UNLV dropped out, they go to a computer metrics, which when I last checked the computer metrics, UNLV was pretty sizably ahead of Colorado State. So as far as Boise State fans should be concerned, they have not officially clinched home field advantage, but Boise State would pretty much need to lose to Oregon State 150-0 to not host. So go get those tickets and get ready to enjoy the game. And if CSU wins out, it'll be CSU. If CSU ends up tied with UNLV, it'll almost certainly be UNLV.
And I think I may have even asked you this the first time you came on, but in one word, maybe two, depending on, I guess it's 2 words, but in 2 words or less, what's the bigger concern for you still right now? Special teams or the pass defense?
Pass defense, definitely. Yeah. Special teams isn't sticky game to game. And I think that there are pieces there to be good. Pass defense, I don't think you're fixing some of the corner issues right now.
Okay, so final thing, just kind of sum this up, your last 20 minutes here, and just what you make of. I guess it's been 30 minutes, man. Appreciate you staying on for a while, but the last couple of games haven't necessarily been pretty, and there's certainly some issues this team still has, but they're winning in the end, and now one home game against Oregon State away from playing for a lot in the Mountain West Championship game at home. Yeah, you've now got 2 home games to pretty much achieve all your goals against 2 teams that you should beat, 2 teams you're going to be favored in. I know it hasn't been pretty, but if you said before the season this would be the position you'd be in, anybody in America would have taken it. So just big picture, your thoughts here. Boise State now 10-1 after the 17-13 win over Wyoming.
Yeah, a lot of issues, a lot of things to clean up, but a win is a win is a win. At the end of the day, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to win, and Boise State was able to handle that. At this point, it really is going to be survive and advance. And there's a lot of injuries on this team. Try to get healthy. If they can get into the playoff, get healthy before those playoff games. But, win. That's all that matters.
Hey, appreciate you, Nathan. Great work as always, man. You're already a fan favorite here on BNN. We got to follow him on Twitter at Nathan_26_. We got to get him some more followers and great follow during the game. So make sure you follow him and make sure you check out all of his work at Bronco Nation News, including that next piece on Monday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Nathan, appreciate you, man. Get back to the family. Thanks for jumping on.
Thanks, BJ. Appreciate it.
All right, there he is, Nathan Carroll. Appreciate him. Hey, Transportation Compliance Service, we appreciate them as well. Check them out, transcompservice.com. You can get into the trucking industry, highly booming industry right now, and it's a local company in the Treasure Valley helping folks all over the world. So all the DOT overweight permits, everything you need to get out there on the open road, they can help you. Transportation Compliance Service. I mentioned this is the Blue and Orange Store post-game show. Ashton Jeanty gear. He's got it. The Blue and Orange Store. Ashton Jeanty has some gear available for you. The NIL gear, jerseys, sweatshirts, hats, and he gets a portion of the proceeds. So if you're looking to support Ashton Jeanty or many different athletes at Boise State, they've got the various NIL apparel at the Blue and Orange Store. You can order online, theblueandorangestore.com, from anywhere in the world, or just go to the Boise Town Square Mall there, the second floor next to Pro Image. Hey, we did it. We finally got it again. The Breezy Dubar touchdown bundle is back. The Breezy bundle, $1. You get a hot dog and a soda on Tuesday at Jackson's. You have to use Let's Go rewards. And I think last time they even threw in a banana and maybe a M&Ms or something. So the Breezy bundle on Tuesday, $1 gets you a hot dog and a soda at Jackson's when you use Let's Go rewards with Breezy Dubar scoring tonight. So you get that at Jackson's on Tuesday. Hey, Lean Feast, leanfeastmeridian.com. Speaking of food, check them out, leanfeastmeridian.com. They got great meal options, 10,000 plus combinations. Check them out, leanfeastmeridian.com, leanfeastmeridian.com. Whether it's steak, shrimp, chicken, fish, they feed the football team, the basketball team. They can feed you as well. And again, they deliver anywhere in the Treasure Valley, so no excuse to not eat healthy. Check them out online at leanfeastmeridian.com. We appreciate those of you that gave the voicemails tonight. They're sponsored by Signature Roofing, mysignatureroofing.com. They've got that NIL deal with RJ Keene. You're going to be hearing from him plenty on the show, thanks to Signature Roofing. And they just do a tremendous job, whether it's a re-roof, whether it's a repair, whether it's an inspection, whether it's a free estimate. They can do it for you. Again, mysignatureroofing.com is the website. They're a locally owned roofing company, been around for more than 2 decades. They do tremendous work. So mysignatureroofing.com, Signature Roofing. They're covering our community for more than 2 decades. Check them out, again, online at mysignatureroofing.com. All right, we are here on the post-game show, sponsored by the Blue and Orange Store, and here at Bronco Nation News after Boise State's 17-13 win over Wyoming. It's going to be a quick turnaround tomorrow, folks. We've got the pregame show at 8 a.m. Mountain Time for Boise State and Hampton basketball. So we're not going to go too much further on this tonight. We're 58 minutes in. We still have great viewership, a lot of comments coming in, but there's only so much you can say about this one. Certainly some issues to clean up and improve on, but we got a basketball game tomorrow morning as well. Looks like Texas A&M's going to triple overtime. A lot of other good games on. We'll follow that UNLV game. Don't get many channels down here in the Cayman Islands. They drive on the wrong side of the road and they show cricket on ESPN. I don't know what to think about this place, but we had to go to a local sports bar here to find the game. We did get the game on. They were able to put it on CBS Sports Network, but don't get many channels here in the hotel and just the way it is. So going to be tough to watch some of those games, but it is a quick turnaround. 8 a.m. Pacific, 8 a.m. Mountain Time. We'll have the live pregame show from the gym. 8 a.m. Mountain Time, live pregame show, Boise State basketball the next couple of days down here at the Cayman Islands Classic. And again, only the 5th football game in 12 years that I have not attended in person since moving to Boise. So it was a weird feeling, but in the end, I was able to still watch it and take some notes and have some thoughts on it. Wasn't pretty, not by any means. Special teams still an issue. Pass defense still an issue. A lot of things you got to clean up. A lot of issues. Wasn't Maddox Madsen's best game, but you know what? On some of those other, as I said earlier in the show, what do you think the BYU fans are saying right now? What do you think the Colorado fans are saying right now? The Alabama fans, they would have loved to have had an ugly win and still found a way to win the game. So Boise State wasn't pretty. They do get the win, 17-13 over Wyoming. They play Oregon State. That'll be a 10 a.m. game on Black Friday. We'll have coverage of that. I'll be back in time for that one. But next couple days, going to focus on basketball. Hope you'll join us 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. I know it's early. I know you got church, but 8 a.m. tomorrow, we'll be live here in the Cayman Islands with the pregame show. We're going to have Abe Jackson join us live. I think Cody Gogler is going to join us live. We'll hear from Leon Rice. We'll hear from Alvaro Cardenas, and we'll show you a live look at warm-ups as Boise State gets set to play Hampton in the first round of the Cayman Islands Classic. If they win tomorrow, the game is 9 a.m. Mountain Time tomorrow. If they win, they'll play at 11:30 the next day is on Monday, and then the championship game would be 5:30. If they that's a Mountain Time, 5:30 if they win, and then they play in the championship game as well. So Boise State football, Boise State basketball. We got a lot of different things going on. I know some of you folks have church and things and can't be a part of the coverage tomorrow. That's great. But for those of you that don't want to pay $30, Chris, I said we're going to do a couple of them at once because I've been slacking on that, and I have the gift cards, and I want to do a couple of those at once. So we'll try this week to maybe do both of them from the last 2 games. I apologize, Chris, for not doing that at this point. But again, Boise State wins at 17-13. Basketball coverage. Hope you'll join us 8 a.m. Mountain Time tomorrow. Maybe the earliest pregame show we've ever done, 8 a.m. Boise State basketball tomorrow. So we got football, we got basketball, we got it all covered for you at Bronco Nation News and BroncoNationNews.com. So if you're able to help subscribe, we'd love that. BNN 50 deal gets you that promo code at the bottom of the screen, gets you $50 for a full year at BroncoNationNews.com. We'd love to have your support. Not cheap getting down here to the Cayman Islands to cover this tournament. So if you're able to help us out and subscribe, we'd love to have you. $50 using that promo code BNN50 deal, and that gets you eligible for the private jet trip. Ridley's Family Market sponsoring our VIP basketball experience again. We haven't picked the game yet, but if you're a paying yearly subscriber, you're eligible to win a private jet trip for two down to a road basketball game later this season. So appreciate all you guys that already do subscribe. Go support the sponsors if you can. Tell the sponsors you appreciate them. That's a big deal as well. And at a minimum, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel here and support us by liking and retweeting our videos and things like that. But appreciate all you guys. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the football tonight. Again, 17-13, Boise State takes down Wyoming. Broncos are 10-1. They're moving on. I know it wasn't pretty. I know there's a lot of things that need to get cleaned up, but take a deep breath, relax, have another horseshoe collective, folks. Boise State won the game. They're going to be still in the playoff rankings on Tuesday, and now they have a great, great chance. They win 2 home games, and they're probably getting a bye. How about that? I mean, thanks to Kansas, thanks to Arizona State. If Boise State can win, think about that for a second. Boise State just has to win 2 home games to now get a bye in the college football playoff. It is pretty darn crazy when you put it that way. So just win, baby, is right, guys. So thank you guys so much for joining us, and I hope you'll get some rest and then join us again 8 a.m. tomorrow. Boise State basketball pregame show down here from the Cayman Islands. So it's a fun weekend for Boise State. So appreciate you guys. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you bright and early from the Cayman Islands. Boise State basketball in Hampton. That'll be coming up at 8 a.m. tomorrow. But obviously the talk today, 17-13. Boise State wins it. Broncos are 10-1 and 2 home games, as I said, 2 home wins away from a bye in the college football playoff. Just hard to fathom at this point, but they got it done. They moved on, and now they got the Black Friday game coming up against Oregon State, and we'll talk plenty about that moving forward. So have a good rest of your evening. Appreciate you guys for joining us. Thanks to the Blue and Orange Store for sponsoring the show. Thanks to Western Collective, our studio sponsor, rowpaint.com, our title sponsor. I know Travis Hawks and Andy Rowe were on the trip to Laramie, so I'm sure that's going to be a fun flight home back for them. And most importantly, thanks to our sponsors, but thanks to you guys for staying with us and helping us with great viewership tonight, and for telling your friends, and for always supporting BNN and myself and what we're doing here. It means a lot to me and my family, and hopefully we can keep this thing going for a really, really long time. So thanks again. We'll talk to you 8 a.m. tomorrow, Boise State and Hampton pregame show here from the Cayman Islands. My name is BJ Rains. This has been Bronco Nation News Live, BroncoNationNews.com. The Blue and Orange Store postgame show. Again, the final score, 17-13. Boise State wins it. We'll talk to you at 8 a.m. for some Boise State basketball coverage here at Bronco Nation News Live, and the social media channels, Bronco Nation News, BroncoNationNews.com.